Welcome back to part 2 of the Northumberland Campervan guide. I had some good feedback off the first one that I did, so I think I'm getting a slightly newer audience to just the normal walking videos and camping videos and things that I've done. So hope you enjoy this one. We're going to have a starting point probably at Cragside and then working our way up the Coquet Valley. We'll talk about some of the other valleys and some of the other dark sky spots that we've got. Have a loop around Kielder and probably finish down at Hadrian's Wall. So I hope you enjoy coming along for the ride. If you've got any questions or any other places that you're interested in, just drop it in the comments and I'll come back to you. I've lived here now for over 20 years. I still feel like I'm on holiday, to be fair. It's brilliant. There's such a lot to do and there's still a lot. Even though I'm out every weekend, there's still stuff that I haven't discovered. So it's a vast area and it's, well, I love it. So I hope you enjoy your visit when you come. So this is Cragside, or the entrance to Cragside, National Trust property, and it's well worth a visit. There's quite a lot of National Trust properties in Northumberland. There's Sittingdale Hall, Wallington, Belsay, but this is by far and away, head and shoulders, the best. It's a great big estate. There's loads of wildlife here. There's a really nice house to have a look round, and there's a forest drive that loops around. So I'll do a couple of shots of this, but it's dead busy today. It's Mother's Day, so I've not picked the best day to stand here doing a selfie. So Cragside itself is National Trust property. It was the former home of Lord Armstrong, and it was the first house back in the day to start getting into home automation, in the sense that it had underfloor heating. It was powered primarily by hydroelectric generated from the lakes, and it's just a thoroughly good day out. There's plenty to do, there's plenty of space. The forest drive that loops around the perimeter is really good. There's lots of car parks where you can stop off along the way, so there's an adventure playground for the kids. Plenty to just look at in terms of natural beauty, huge trees. One of the best bits for me is the bird hide. I know sitting in a bird hide is often a bit boring. The one here is fantastic. I was there when the kids were a lot younger, and in the space of a couple of minutes we'd seen a woodpecker, a red squirrel, and then loads of other finches and blue tits and all that kind of thing. This is the River Coquet, and in the distance just over there is Rothbury. So I had intended to stop off just near Rothbury and give you a little bit of a talking about what it's like, but it's Mother's Day and every man and his dog has come out, literally the dog as well, for a Sunday morning walk, Sunday lunch and everything else. I just felt like an idiot, so I've come to a little bridge just on slightly west upstream on the River Coquet, and just give you a little look round. The hills up into the distance there are the Simonside Hills. There's some great walks up there. It can get quite busy since lockdown. Everybody seems to have discovered that as a place. It used to be quite quiet up there, but now it does get quite busy. Again, I think Northumberland busy isn't London busy. It's just that you happen to see people when you're out and about, where my preference is just to have the place to myself. But the River Coquet is brilliant for kayaking and canoeing. Obviously you need to make sure it's a day like today where there hasn't, when it floods and it's dangerous, but on a day like this it's absolutely great, albeit probably very cold. So what we're going to do for this part is we're going to head up the Coquet Valley, which is brilliant for dark skies, and we're going to stop off at a couple of places. There's a couple of campsites along the way that I'll point out, and just generally have a look at what village life in Northumberland is about. One thing to consider when you're going away from the coast, there's noticeably less petrol stations, so just get your tanks topped up, because they have in the last year put a petrol station at a little village called Thropton, which is just outside of Rothbury, and the prices are really reasonable. There's another one at Kielder, but when you do get into rural Northumberland, they do become distinctly more sparse, so don't get caught short, because it can be a long way from a petrol station. Anyway, I'll bring you back for some more shortly. So if you're coming up the Coquet Valley, a good little place to stop off, slight diversion, is a tiny village called Holystone. There's maybe only 20 houses here, and it's got quite a lot of history surrounding the place. There's a place called Ladies Well. I'll drop a couple of photographs in, which is basically more of a spring than a well, and it was on one of the St Cuthbert's trails, something like that, but that actually feeds the village with its water supply. So it's National Trust little, it's not a property, it's just like a little ornamental garden with a spring in the middle, but it's a nice easy little walk, something to have a look at, and just in a very tranquil part of Northumberland. So this is Clennell Hall. We've stayed here in the past, and it was great, really good. So the bloke's looking out the window now. I feel stupid, I'm going to have to walk around the back. This is the grounds at the back. The lady who runs it's just come out and had a chat with us. I think she thought I was casing the place to rob it, but I wasn't. And yeah, she said that, you know, they accommodate motorhomes. They've also got some tent spaces, and there are some statics as well. Although you can't see anything from here. So the only thing that she would recommend is, if you're planning on coming here, is just to ring ahead and book, because they do have some weekends where they have some car clubs or motorbike groups, things like that. And on the weekends that they come, they tend to sort of book the lot out and kind of take over. But it's a cracking spot. You're at the walking distance from the start of the Kielder Forest. You're back out onto the River Coquet, and it's just idyllic, really nice and quiet, nice grounds. We actually stayed in the house a year or so ago, and it was spot on. The food was good. The beer is, you know, it's a good selection of real ales, all that kind of stuff. So thoroughly recommend it. It's a bit funny when you walk in the bar. There's a big like creaky door that opens, and everybody kind of stops and looks at you. But it's not clicky at all. It's like, it's just because the door's got such a squeak. It's obvious that somebody's walking in the bar. But you get a really warm welcome. So thoroughly recommend. There we go. They've also got a Facebook page as well. I've just had a crack with the owners, and as I remember, just a dead friendly bunch, nice people. So here we have the Otterburn Ranges. We're just, as you can see on the map here, so Clennell Hall, where we just were. It's got quite a long driveway up to it, and then the lovely village of Alwinton, which again was very busy today. There's a good pub there that a lot of people like. Now we're coming up towards the ranges. So this is a huge military live firing range, and it is open to the public of sorts, but what you will see is lots of red flags. So they're not flying today. As you drive around the perimeter, there's great big red flags. When the flags are up, you can't go in. When they're down, you can go in, but you can't go everywhere. So again, if you look at the map, you'll see that you've got the whole area is the ranges, and then you've got roads that you can go down marked in blue, and the ones that are marked in red you can't go down. That's basically, it's where they're firing at. There's a load of old tanks dotted around in there, and you could just tread on something that could blow you up, basically. So you have to, but there are, as I said, there's lots of places that you can go, and there's lots of places. Some of these viewpoints here, the views are absolutely brilliant. So as you come through Alwinton, which is the village just slightly back down that way, It's got a dead end sign as you're going along this road, which it's only a dead end if the red flags are flying and you can't go out the other side of the ranges. If you can go out the other side of the ranges, then I'm just trying to see if I can get my bearings off here, but so we're at Alwynton, we're coming along here, we're going to go all the way up around here, keep going, and eventually I think the road would stop at Macandon, which is the last farmhouse. So if the red flags are flying, that's as far as you can go. However, if they're not flying, you can carry on or go all the way through here, pick up one of these roads, and then this brings you out onto the main road, the A696, which goes through Otterburn and is on the edge of the Kielder Forest. So we'll carry on to take you. I mean, this whole area is, I think it's about 17 miles end to end, so it's a fair sized place, and there's some cracking, nobody goes up here basically. You very rarely see anybody up here, and it's not a playground, you know, you've got to respect what it is. It's a live range, there's heavy artillery, you get helicopters up here and tanks and all sorts of stuff, so if you do go through, stick to the roads but enjoy the views, and it is a shortcut. You know, if you want to get through to Kielder Forest or Otterburn from here, you can do it, and you're perfectly, you know, it's within your rights to do it. You're not breaking any rules as long as the red flags aren't flying. So we'll take you a bit further. This is now getting into Upper Coquet Valley, and there's fast moving bits like this, but there's also quite a few nice calm pools which is great to swim in. Probably July and August is the time to be doing it though, not March. And again, this road, in terms of its accessibility, it's great, but in the winter, if there is ice and stuff, it is particularly inaccessible. Once you get into the military ranges, they don't grit it at all, and sometimes if there's snow on the ground, you've got some steep gradients. It's not the place to come in a 4x4, never mind a camper. So yeah, it's one to probably avoid if it's adverse weather, but if it isn't, get up here and just enjoy the wilderness, because it's remote, it's beautiful. We've just progressed a little bit further up the valley now to Wedderleap car park. So there's a few picnic benches, places to park. We're right on the edge of the river. So there is a good little wild swimming spot, probably about 200 yards down there, and I have swam here and jumped off that bridge. However, the reason this place got its name was for somebody that tried to jump over the river, got it wrong, ended up in the bit just under the bridge where it is really deep. It's like probably 10-12 foot, and drowned. So again, I just love the wildness up here. It's this is Shilhope Law behind us there. That's a bit of a lung buster getting up onto the top of that. And there is a place just behind the trees called Barrowburn Camping Barn. Stayed there a few times. It's brilliant, absolutely class. Middle of nowhere, no phone signal, no electric. Well, there's a little bit of electric for lights, but all the properties up here, they're actually off mains electricity, and I don't think they're on mains water either. The water comes from a spring on the hillside. So it's 254 properties in Northumberland that don't have mains electricity. That's how widespread the wildness and the ruggedness is. So we'll continue up the valley anyway and stop off a few places. There you go, I'll look at that. I bet they don't knock them out at load line. Proper winters up here. So as you're driving upstream through the Coquet Valley, the ranges are on your left hand side, and you see those signs all the way along, and then you get to this point, which is Mackendon Farmhouse, and this is where it is officially. This is just Ministry of Defence road now. So if the red flags were flying at this point, you would have to stop and turn around, go back the other way, unfortunately. However, the red flags aren't flying today. Most of the time they're not, in all honesty. But even when they are flying, when they're not flying, sometimes you can come along here and you'll see squaddies training. So we've come down to this farmhouse just here, and there's been maybe 20 or 30 squaddies, and initially you can't see them because they've got the camo on, and then you start picking one or two out, and then you pick more and more out, and then you'll see some of them lying on the bellies at the side of the road pointing guns at you. You think, whoa, but they're only firing blanks. Yeah, look there. So they're not particularly good at picking up after themselves. There's a smoke grenade there, and you do find bullets dotted around all over, but when they're outside of the ranges, they're only ever firing with blanks, so don't be too alarmed. You're not going to get caught in a crossfire or anything like that. There's another smoke grenade. So this is the River Coquet as well, albeit in its... No, it's not. I'm lying. Oh, there's a little rabbit there. But it's not unusual to see salmon in these streams, like sort of 6, 7, 8 pound salmon, and you can follow them. Obviously the water's as clear as crystal. Just follow them along. So in the distance on the hillside just here, you can maybe pick out the earthworks, which is Chew Green, and it's the remains of a Roman hill fort. And we're in the sort of Reaver country here, so you can quite easily pick up the Pennine Way from here, which will take you along the border ridge up past Windy Gyle, and over towards the Cheviot. It's a cracking walk. The views are, it's not brilliant today, but when you get up on the ridge, which is sort of a really good high point, the views are fantastic. It's just a little bit overcast today. Could drive around here all day showing you different views, but it's just views of the wilderness. This is my favourite one. This is called Outer Golden Pot, and probably not the best sky to show it off today, but it is a tremendous view. These maps are dotted all around the ranges, but I'm going to highlight that phone number there. So if in doubt, give that number a ring if you are planning a route through. I was going to do a little bit of video just back along the road here. There's one of them great big military personnel carriers, and I don't know what he was thinking of, but he's driven through this kind of terrain here, which is just peat bog, and it's axle deep, stuck in the mud. I was going to get out and take a video, but he was still sat behind in the driver's seat, and I thought, he's not going to appreciate me coming along doing a bit of YouTube in here. He's obviously having a bad day. It's a Sunday as well, and I mean the wheel spin marks and everything, it looks like they've made a right old mess. So my son's took a photograph, I'll stick that in. Probably take a tank or something with a big flipping tow rope to come and get him. So anyway, we're just coming out of the other side of the ranges now, so I'll go back to the map, give you a little map time talk. So yeah, we've gone, where did we start? Well, I mean, we actually started all the way over here. We've come up round here, Clennell Hall, then we came along here, stopped at the car park there at Wedders Leap for where the camping barn was. We carried on looping round here. That's where the tracked Land Rover was at Blind Burn. The old Pennine Way along here is an absolutely tremendous. There we go. Sorry, Windy Gyle. It's all the way up there. So, but I mean that's walkable from. The easiest place to park for that is Trowes Lane End car park, which if you Google it is just there. And you can do quite a nice circular route. There's little farm buildings called the Trowes. You can go up there onto Windy Gyle, loop back down and back round. It's a proper leg stretch, that is. We're right on the border now. Just looping round north of Kielder. We're actually going to go into Scotland and then drop back into Kielder. So, got a pal who lives in Hoyk, but if you go there, say Howick, because it winds them up. A little bit about the history. Then we've got the views from up here. Stayed here myself in the past, and the chap that runs it is a really nice bloke. I'm going to have a little run up the driveway and just see if there's any details, just so I can include them in terms of websites or phone numbers and things. But it's, yeah, I can recommend this, and it's walking distance from a pub that serves food. So this is quite a useful little map. The campsite's just here. It stretches all the way down, and there's a path through to the pub there. The castle's worth a visit. There's also bike hire if you want to hire a mountain bike. So yeah, it's spot on. There's another map there, just gives you some idea of the different types of walking trails, mountain bike trails. There's absolutely loads to do around here if you're into your outdoorsy stuff. So if you are coming here, get yourself on Amazon and get one of these head nets. It's alright this time of the year, however in the summer it can be horrific here for midges. There's a little view of the site there, stretches all the way down. The good thing about it is, for it to be busy, there needs to be loads of people here, because it's a big site. It stretches all the way down. The toilet facilities and that, when I was here last year, they were meticulously clean, plenty of hot water, so recommend it. It's a shame that this is closed today. I think it should be opening any time now, and it's open throughout the summer. I think they just shut it during the winter months so that it's less corrosion on the track itself. So it starts off tarmac, then it goes into gravel, and this actually comes out at Burness, which is cuts a massive corner off, saves you looping round up into Scotland and back. And it's not difficult in terms of the driving. You don't need a 4x4, although it is a forest trail, and it's worth a little mosey down. I think it's £3. Says you can also buy a day ticket for £7 for all of the car parks if you're here. I just wish it told you exactly what the dates were, but it doesn't, so just check on the website, Kielder website, before you come, just to make sure it is open. So this is just near Kielder Castle. Got it just across the wall over there. There's a few little gift shops in there, cafe. It's good for bird watching out the back from what I remember from the last time I was here. So it's not open today, which again, I think everything's still struggling a little bit from COVID, still struggling a little bit from Storm Arwen as well, but I think it should be open, but I would just check the website before visiting. And then behind us there's toilets, which are always generally pretty good, and there's a mountain bike hire place as well. So if you don't want to bring your bike, you can hire electric ones as well. I'll be up the hill. So you've got the castle up through the trees, and then down below there's a maze. Keeps the kids happy for 20 minutes having a mooch around that. And then just across the way is the Angler's Arms. I've eaten there a few times, and the food quality was good. Choice of beers was good. Only thing was, they're a stickler for closing times. Flipping it. When I was there, I was with a friend who was doing an ultra marathon the following day with about 30 or 40 other people. No, maybe even more than that. And they'd all booked in for their evening meal. And it got to 7 o'clock, and that was it. Chef was shutting the kitchen, and they were all there ready to do this ultra marathon the next day, and banking on the fact that we're going to get steak and chips and load up on the carbs. But so just be mindful of checking the time, because yeah, there's no wiggle room. I've just dodged into the Calvert Trust, which is on the banks of the water at Kielder, and I did a adventure family day here a few years ago. It was brilliant. Really recommend it if you like your outdoorsy little adrenaline rush. They've got high ropes thing here, then there's a king swing where they just hoik you up in the air attached to a bar and then let you go, which absolutely terrified my daughter. If I can find the video of that, it was brilliant. In a sadistic parenting kind of way. And then this is a new addition. I haven't been on this, but this is a kind of you start off up on the tower next to the tree there, and it's like a zip wire, but it's on a metal rail, and it twists and turns and comes whooshing down. But this place accommodates people with disabilities as well. So I've got a mate with cerebral palsy. He came here for like respite a few weeks back and had a really good time. And depending what you book and how you book it, sometimes you'll get put in with a mixed group and you all just help each other out. So when you go, there's a zip wire further up. When you're going on the zip wire, you'll all sort of help one another hoist up the wheelchair users to the top of the tower, and then they'll come whizzing down. And it's just a lovely atmosphere. The food's great. Not if you do an adventure day, you get your food as part of it, and thoroughly recommend it. There is some accommodation here. I don't think it's a campervan destination, but if you like your activities and you want to do something, I'd recommend this place. I don't think they market themselves well enough, to be fair. That's my only criticism. I think they're probably known for what they do for disabled activities, but it is an able-bodied venue as well, and mixed abilities venue. So yeah, really. Just thought I'd use the visitor centre just to do a little map reading lesson on where we are and what there is to see. So you can see Kielder Reservoir, which is way in the distance here, and you can see the forest itself, and I think that gives us some idea as to the scale of how big it is when you see that whole Ordnance Survey map is the forest. Just incidentally as well, to cover Northumberland, there's at least another, because there's one I haven't put there. I think there's another 7 Ordnance Survey maps that you need, and a lot of them are double-sided. I mean, this one's double-sided. So from the top here, Kielder Village, we came in via the road here, Deadwater Fell, and off up into the Scottish border, but the Forest Drive brings you all the way along through the forest and takes you out onto the main road. It doesn't quite stretch to it on this map, but that's definitely worth doing if you're coming. Another key attraction at Kielder is the Dark Sky Observatory. There's plenty of sort of website information on that and how to book it and everything. And when I was at the campsite, there was what looked to be an amateur astronomy club. They were all setting up with great big telescopes, all with big digital cameras attached to them and everything. So it does get quite a lot of coverage for its dark sky attraction. But I've also got a friend who lived at the Hollybush Inn at Greenhoff, which is a little village nearby, And the one thing that he was telling me was that because Kielder is such a big mass of water, at certain atmospheric conditions, because you get such a lot of evaporation, you can end up with a little microclimate at the actual reservoir itself, where you get like a cloud, and that can spoil it in terms of your dark skies. Whereas Greenhoff, which isn't far away, they started doing dark skies nights there, and he said just because it was a little bit away from the reservoir on a still night where there was no wind to carry it away, it actually made it slightly better. But I think with Northumberland is you're never going to predict the weather accurately. Just have a few things up your sleeve, so that if it rains you've got something to do, if the weather's great you've got something to do, if the midges are out you've got a head net, but just always have a plan B is my advice. This is a site I haven't stayed at, but I've heard a lot of good things about it, and the village of Bellingham, which is just down the road, it's a really nice quaint little village. There's a couple of nice walks, probably Hareshaw Linn, the waterfall is worth looking up if you're coming, but again it's just out in the middle of nowhere, in between Bellingham and Hexham this road is, so it should be easy enough to find. We're really lucky in Northumberland with the variety of wildlife we've got on our doorsteps. I see deer probably on a daily basis. The rivers are full of life. We've got lampreys, which are fairly rare. Obviously you saw the salmon earlier on in the video. We've got dormice and various different small mammals. We've also got owls, snakes, painted lady butterflies seem to come in abundance. The red squirrel's probably one of the favourites. And then up in the Cheviot Hills we've got the wild Cheviot goats. So a good place for spotting them is around Yeavering Bell, or again near Windyguile. If you do the circular loop that I mentioned earlier at Windyguile, that's generally quite a good place as well.